Hello and welcome back to the channel. The last few videos has all been about the ATV and plowing and messing around with the electrics and stuff. This one's gonna be a bit more serious. Uh, First off, I want to warn sensitive viewers that, or sensitive people, that I will insert still photos on occasion when it suits. And some might find those disturbing. It's from when I was ill. Um, I will insert a note before the photo, just to warn if you want to look away. And also I heard that some found that my videos were kind of long, so I will try to keep this short, but I don't think I'll manage, but I will cut it up so it's more manageable. What this video is about is I'm gonna share the story of how I became to be what I am today. Not the history of my life, but the history of my past 3 years. I'm just making sure that I have somewhere to sit. And also, why this channel, 2.5 Feet, was created. There we go. It all started in June 19th. Fix this so I don't have to hold my phone. Just 2 seconds. June 19th in 2019, my parents were visiting for midsummers, and they had actually brought with them a set of couches that I had shown interest in. And since they were moving from a house to an apartment, they found that the couches simply couldn't fit, so they brought it with them to me because neither of my siblings had shown any interest in them. And to fit them in our house, we had to move around a bunch of stuff. We have 2 houses. And among those things were a rather large wooden table that we were gonna move upstairs in the guest house. The guest house is from the 1780s, so the stairway to the upstairs or the upper floor is about or just a little more than shoulder wide and quite steep and short steps. And for some reason the table was dropped and I was the second man, so I caught the table and tried to push it up in order so it wouldn't slip and fall down the stairs and damage the 300-year-old steps or stairs. This caused the table to be pushed into my right pectoral, and I bursted a blood vessel on the back side of the muscle. 3 days later I wake up, or 3 days later I'm in an ambulance on my way to a hospital 80 kilometers away, fighting for my life. And I wake up, or I became conscious 10 days later, and began the struggle to come back to life. I came home not until August 5th. By then, or when I woke up, my feet were blue black. My toes were all mummified. and I began my struggle to regain life. So in August, I finally got released from the hospital for the first time. About a week later, I was back due to two conflicting antibiotics in my system, which were wreaking havoc on my appetite, my sense of taste, and well, things weren't good. I was bound to a wheelchair to get around. Um, yeah, it was a hassle. Um, a couple of months later, they amputated my first toe, or two toes, I can't quite remember. But yeah, and the months to follow, more toes were dropped off until they finally scheduled surgery to remove those toes or finish the amputation process. And they removed the second and third bone in two toes in my right foot. The toe 2 and 3, and the fourth toe they took the two outermost bones and half the first. They took all my entire big toe and my little pinky or little toe. They took halfway down the foot because the bone had been exposed. The bone was infected. I will insert pictures somewhere for those interested. The on the left foot looks well, as you can see in the channel image. That's basically what my feet look like. My left foot, they kept all the first phalanx, is that the name? On all toes. Basically, yeah. So it still looks like a foot, only I have no toenails or tips of my toes. The left big toe is a bit stiff when I lift it, but otherwise that foot functions fine. Both heels were affected due to being immobile for so long, so I had necrotized tissues, dead tissue on the outside of both heels, and also the back of my head had dead tissue. So I have skin grafts back here. I have skin grafts on both heels. But the last major surgery was, so we're gonna fast forward quite a bit, or jump in time back and forth because that's how my mind works. So the last major surgery was in October of 21, where they actually took a lamb. They took, two blood vessels, one artery and one vein from my left thigh to put on my right heel because I had a hole, or rather it was about that big hole into the bone of my heel that was exposed, and at first nothing happened, and then suddenly a small string of tissue, and then wham blam, the entire heel apart from a pinhole was covered in tissue, and soon enough skin started growing over it. Sitting kind of awkward. It's not quite optimal with that back light in the back. Anyhow, So the last surgery was to cover that with the lamb chop from my left thigh. And they are planning the final surgery. I got notified in last May that they are planning my surgery, and so far I'm still on hold because they have a queue that's 400 and something days long, and because we had a upswing in COVID last year, all non-critical surgeries had been postponed. So somewhere around mid-summer next year, maybe, I will have the final surgery. The surgery will be to decrease the size of the lamb because they oversized it to make room for tissue, fat tissue. The blood vessels needed space to swell off and all that. So yeah, that's a short version of my medical history. I probably put a cut in there. Yeah, well, what's it like then? Well, my right foot is sort of like it's been through a blender. Not quite, but if you know what a third degree burn looks like, that's what my foot looks like on the sole of my foot. The back of my foot looks, well, it's sort of like first degree burn. The skin is very thin, it's very tense, it has no flexibility left in it. I have trouble flexing my toes. I can't flex the toes on my right foot. I can see a hint of movement in the second digit. The third digit is fused in the joint that's left. So when I don't have my prosthetic foot like now, still waiting for it, the bone on that toe cuts through, puts pressure on the tissue, so it cuts through and opens up the wound, because the stump, if you will, grinds on the tissue, or so it basically starts out as a what's it called? Shave. And then it blisters, and then it cuts through, and the blister breaks away, and there's a sort of like small crater. The heel has healed up quite nicely. It's still sort of trying to find the skin layers are trying to find each other. Same on my left foot. So every couple of weeks I have foot care. So okay, that's a bit of backstory. So okay, 3 maybe 4 years ago now, how is that affecting my life today? Well, as I mentioned, when I don't have my prosthetic, it cuts through, and that causes pain. Sort of like stepping on a nail, but it's very local, so it's just that front of that toe. And also I get fatigued, intensely fatigued, so I can be hyper energetic for a long period of time, several hours, and then it just hits me. So as long as my brain is, or mind is, preoccupied with something, I can be super focused. I don't feel anything. I just do the thing what I need to do. And then all of a sudden, a mix of thoughts pop up, and I feel the pain. It makes me almost lift my leg because the pain is so intense. And I actually wrote a script just to try to keep my mind in order. There are others that has been through this. I'm in contact with someone who has been through the same. It didn't hit where it hit me. It hit her in the back, I believe. She lost both her legs, the lower limbs, has double prosthetics. She lost the tips of her fingers, all of them but one. She has, I believe, the right thumb, if I'm not misremembering. And also, I've heard of others who simply didn't make it. There's someone not too far from here who passed away about around the same time that I got ill. Yeah, with the pain and everything I'm going through with the foot, maybe I shouldn't let them take my foot, because that was an option. It was discussed, and I said, well, if it's possible, try to save the foot. I didn't say you need to save my foot, and they tried to save my foot, or my feet rather, and well, basically they did. I can walk around, I function. As I said, I get tired, I get shots of pain, but I get through life. And recently I discovered, while out plowing again, I discovered that I've started getting sensations of hot and cold, which I haven't had before. They say that my foot is extremely sensitive to heat and cold, because it will break down or damage the tissue. I haven't felt anything from heat and cold. I felt wet and dry, pressure, pain, and now finally the nerves have grown back enough to feel or get sensations rather. I was wearing the wrong type of socks, and my feet got cold, and I can actually feel that, that extreme, when you have frostbite on your hands or feet, you get that pressure of the pain pressure. It's a special kind of pain pressure on that limb, and I could actually feel that, and I haven't felt that in a very, very long time. So when I got home, well, a couple of minutes of the heat, like a warm patch, and get everything back in order. Because when I took my shoes off, I couldn't stand on the foot. Because it felt so special, kind of numb. So how did I get through the day? Well, I have my plans. I do most of the things that I intend to do that day, and sometimes I get interrupted by thoughts, or someone interrupts me in some way, and and that's when I get that kind of reminder that I need to sit down. And I realized I should have sat down a long time ago. And that's when I go back to bed and actually lay down, and I sleep for 1, 2, maybe even 3 hours.